There used to be chickens on this property. This used to be a big ranch. The Bundeson family. You may see the Bundeson Realty family now. It's like they own a lot of properties in Petaluma. This family is that family. I don't know exactly, but 100 years ago they ran a ranch, and there were chickens here and a lot of cows. This was a lot of cows, and then they sold this property, however, 15, 20 years ago to Randy, who now owns all property, including the 3 white houses in the front of the place. But come on, we're going this way. This is a series. It's very. We haven't really got our nursery operation going yet, but eventually we'll have seeding going. And this is a much bigger greenhouse than Ceres has had in the past. So we'll probably start producing a lot of the starts and plants out here. But generally what you want to do in growing is, you seed, keep things in there. I have a little timer with some spray. If you want to come back at 10 o'clock, you'll see it go off. And then I bring the stuff out there. Great, I just wanted to show you that. As we go through everything, there are gopher holes, there's a badger, potentially.
Really?
So they dig really deep holes. So really pay attention as you're walking, because I don't want you to sprain your ankle. This is the space. All of this is like very, 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 very new. And working with greenhouses is something you usually do in the wintertime. So we're going to do a lot of work to get all this ready. All right, so we call this section, this is what we're calling our roadside bed. And so Ceres has a leased agreement from whatever the donated lease. You can see that post, that little T-post in the corner there. That's kind of the end of our property. And everything back behind it is like potential for sale in the future. Hasn't been sold, but might. So we are really growing a lot of stuff here right now. You can see there's a lot of really good kale. The kale has just been really, really excited to be here. But it's really grassy and weedy. So we're going to do some rescue operations later to rescue.
Save the plants.
But eventually, we're still dreaming about what this is going to look like. Eventually this area we may build, a community space, hangout space, whatever. Things are still so new. And we're really learning about the flow of how people go. And we have a big field over there, which we'll look at in a minute. But that we thought was going to be our center of what we do, and realizing that actually because the barn is there, we're just, the natural flow of how people walk. This is our high tunnel. We are growing a lot of things. Again, Ceres doesn't really have a high tunnel like this. So we're going to produce, I think, way more tomatoes than Ceres is ready for. Or I was instructed to plant tomatillos for the kitchen. And I don't know if you've ever grown tomatillos before. I have farmed them. And this is like 6 times more than I've ever even grown because they produced so much. So I hope Ceres is ready for the amount of salsa verde they will be putting in their meals. But we generally... So this is a whole bed of sweet potatoes that was put in by volunteers on our first day. It's getting a little bit weedy, but I just kind of weed whacked really quickly this morning some of the paths. But we have squash growing. I did cucumbers. We have peppers of many different varieties. We have watermelon coming in on the side here, and then 2 beds of tomatoes. A lot of gopher action.
So now all of the produce will go to the Sebastopol kitchen.
Novato.
You have the Novato kitchen.
So this is going to be unless I have, we're still learning about what this will produce, right?
Yeah. As
someone who has a background in farming, I think we're actually going to grow a lot of food here over time. I think there's a lot of potential to growing food. So a lot of it will go to the Novato kitchen. So there will be we're developing the relationship with that kitchen so that I will start collecting their compost and processing it here. And then we're just kind of building that cycle so that what we harvest tonight with the teens, I'll drive down tomorrow morning to Novato, which is really exciting because that kitchen has also been its own little space.
We've never been able to have a garden in Marin. So, so having this one be that much closer, it's such a thing to drive food all the way from Sebastopol to Novato, especially when it's not with the volume of meals that we're producing. It's just it's a lot.
And I did a shift of deliveries. I delivered for Novato, and 2 blocks down was one of our clients.
Yep.
So this area also, has Ceres clients all over the place. So it was really cool to be, for me as someone, I grew up in San Francisco, but I've been living now in Petaluma for 3 years. I know I'm not like a local, but to really feel like, okay, now I'm growing for the community and we're cooking food in Novato, is really cool.
Yeah.
So any excess stuff will also go to Novato, and they will put, we put together grocery bags, that kind of stuff. So tomatoes, peppers, hopefully the watermelon come in really well. I have a couple watermelon that really need some weeding, but it has not been very many. I'm waiting for foggy mornings before really coming in here.
How do you keep the deer away? Because that's a definite Petaluma problem. Well, any farm, but
I wish you hadn't said the D word.
Having flashbacks.
No, I haven't seen one yet.
Oh.
I've heard that there might be one here on the property.
Yeah,
There's a huge, Randy, when he bought this property, put in, all of this is really nice native hedgerow plantings that he put in. The butterfly bushes smell incredible. If you haven't smelled one yet, smell them while they're in season. The ones with the purple flowers.
I think it's all fenced as well.
I have heard rumor there is one deer on the property, but I haven't seen it.
Okay.
My issue has been gophers
Oh,
and badgers and birds.
Have you seen a badger out here?
I haven't seen the badger, but this used to be full of badger holes. But I was worried as I planted it, like, will badger continue? And it hasn't. So right now we have a happy piece going on, but I don't want to disturb the badger. Yeah. So one task might be, if you're feeling like you're a very precise wheelbarrower, would love to mulch these paths just like this one was done, just to really help me keep stuff done. But it also is getting really hot in here, so not a pressure, but just naming that as an exciting thing. Let's go around so we don't stand in this thing. But we have potatoes, kale, squash, cabbage, onions, lettuces. I planted some flowers. Those sunflowers are about to pop off, which is really exciting. Alyssa's brain is thinking about all the flowers that I could grow here, and I would love that feedback. And we put in this perennial garden bed because the relationship that we have with the property is that, he's trying to sell property. So we want to make sure that we are as presentable and good as possible, which means making really nice borders, just so if it gets really weedy and gross in the middle, they don't have to see that. So we're always thinking about how do we grow things to keep a nice border, and also with the wind coming, the wind usually comes this way. Yeah. So we have to figure out, like I've learned, can't put a lot of cardboard down like we do in the Sebastopol garden, because I'll come in the morning and it's 700 feet away. Yeah. So this is going to be our big field. I mean, this is real. I just started cracking into this because I wanted to get that area planted out. But so this is going to be probably multi-year long project of getting this space ready. Garen started working for me last week, so he's kind of been here and helpful. He helped me move this big plastic over there to this side. We call this kind of tarp occultation because, why do you think it's called occultation? Anyone? The word occult, it's black. It's a black tarp. Other farms, another method of land management and kind of walking away weed prevention or whatever is you use solarizing, where you take clear plastic like greenhouse plastic and you put it down on grass and it'll kill everything. I'm a no-till farmer in training, so that means that I learn how to prepare beds, get fields ready without using tractors. So this is one of the ways that you can do it as a single person. Put a piece of plastic down, walk away, and deal with something else for 2 weeks and come back. So I had that on this piece for about 3 weeks, and look at it. It totally is ready to go. So the dream is that we will today mulch with wood chips all this middle path. I really, really want to mulch down this middle path. And then we will build out, not all of us today, over time, we're going to build out rows and rows and rows of plants. which will be beautiful, and we'll border all of this with perennial flowers. Yeah,
So after you've done this,
yeah,
and then you just plant like that. No, I mean you compost, and
yeah.
you don't have to remove weeds
Mm-mm.
or anything.
No,
Oh,
that's
Yeah,
the
you
whole.
God.
build up each of your rows with some
Yeah.
compost, and
And you don't
you're
weed.
good to
As
go.
long as you keep it on there long enough that it's hot enough that like you
That
can
it
see that
kills
stuff is
the
dead,
Yeah.
and not like if you peek under there right now, it'll smell like really old cabbage, and it's not fully dead, right? Because you can see we just put it directly on growing plant. If we have time, I might have us all stand on the edges there and pull it out tight because things have died, and we'll
Yeah.
whatever. But generally, it should be hot enough. I mean, weed seeds are almost inevitable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as long as you can get to plants before they go to seed, before they look like this,
Mhm.
that's the best. Unfortunately, this is all seeded. You do what you can. There's
You're just one person.
there's there's gonna be weeds. I'm not gonna prevent that. And we also have this plot as our kind of we're calling it we're calling this field the hex because it's kind of in a hex shape.
Fun.
And then we call this the eye patch of the hex.
Oh,
the
fun.
eye. And I have a volunteer named Donna who's wonderful, who has a landscaping background. We're designing this as mounted flowers, and we're going to put all this in. And so it'll be really wonderful when Ceres runs events here, where there's going to be a concert in the back of that bar, and we can have our garden going and really just be a space for the community.
So like your pollinator garden?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, maybe. This will be more like dahlias. We actually have a hope. We don't know. This is like there's so much space that we could use that we've
So
told
nice.
that we told the owner like we're not getting there yet. But over across right there, my boss Sarah and I have been talking about pollinator garden
Yeah.
and really
cool.
butterfly habitat in that space where all the yellow flowers are.
Hmm.
There's this hedge of pomegranates, which is super cool, right here. On the other side is also potentially a space Ceres could move into.
One thing at a time.
Yeah. So there's a lot of cool opportunity, but we're getting there. And I'm really thrilled to get your help.